What's up guys? Welcome back to my channel. So it's been about a week now since I received, unboxed, and set up my all-new K1 Speedy 3D printer from Creality. Now in that video, I shared with you my very first print job with that printer, and as you saw, it turned out pretty well. Now when it came to the printer itself, I also shared with you the pros and some of the cons that I found about the printer. Now what I really wanted to do, and what I'm going to do in today's video, is a comparison between the K1 and the printer that it was meant to compete with, which is the P1P from Bambu Labs. Now I've been holding off on buying the P1P because I already have the X1 Carbon from Bambu Labs and didn't really see much need for the P1P. Now although the specs for the P1P are similar to the X1C, I figured it would be a more fair comparison to the entry-level K1 Speedy. So I decided to order it so we could compare the two printers to determine if the K1 compares or if we should wait for the K1 Max from Creality. In addition to that, I also figured that the more 3D printers I have, the faster I can produce my hydroponic towers and other creations that I might want to make and even sell. So now that my P1P has arrived, we're going to do an unboxing, we're going to set it up, and then we'll also do a little bit of a comparison between the P1P and the K1 Speedy from Creality. So stay tuned. Okay, so for most of you that have been following this channel, you'll know that I have been very happy with my Bambu Lab X1 Carbon, and it is my go-to printer. On the flip side, I'm also always looking for new technologies and advancements in 3D printing technology, just because there's always that possibility of being able to print faster, print more accurately, and just overall add new features that we've never seen before. So when Creality announced their new line of K1 3D printers, it's definitely something that I wanted to check out, especially if they were a line of printers that could compete with the X1 Carbon. So before we get to the comparison, let's go ahead and unbox this P1P and set it up. So as you can see, the box comes in pretty much the same type of box as the X1 Carbon, maybe a little bit smaller, I just can't remember, but I'm pretty sure that it's going to be packaged just as well. So initially I'm going to put this on the floor since I don't have that much room on the desktop. And we'll take the printer out. It's got this nice protective layer of bubble wrap, foam cushions, and the printer bag handles are taped to the box, of course. Okay, we'll go ahead and lift the P1P out of the box. And this time around, no filament came with the P1P, but it wasn't expected because, of course, it is the budget version of the X1 Carbon. And I didn't order any of the extras, just because I wanted to get the printer itself. Ooh, the tape is stuck on the manual. Okay, so there is the manual, of course. So this is the setup and usage manual. But I'm gonna say that I probably don't need it since, you know, I have set up the X1 Carbon. But, you know, we'll go through and check to make sure we did everything right after the fact. Okay, and already you can see that it is just a little bit different than the X1C in that it does not have the enclosure. So I'm definitely going to do a video on me printing one of the available closures, or maybe even all of them, to see what they look like and how to put that together on the P1P itself. Okay, let's take out these styrofoam tops, take out the box, just move the printer over a little bit. Okay, so the desiccant is here on the side. It looks like it's got some filament already stuck on the print bed itself. Now the difference between the P1P and the X1's Carbon, the dual-sided textured plate, whereas the Bambu Labs X1C came with just the non-textured, the heat plate, the standard heat plate. So I definitely am glad that it comes with the textured plate because I've replaced the original plate in my X1 Carbon and I love the textured plates. Okay, so let's see what accessories we get with this. It's taped very well, that is for sure. Oh, okay, so you do get a starter set of filament. So I do like that it comes with this big roll of PLA Basic, which is very nice. Okay, you do get your PTFE tube, you get your cleaner, and a bunch of nice little accessories, which is pretty nice. For printed phone holder. Okay, so just a lot of little accessories in this little box as well. Get your lubricant, extra lubricant, get your anchor. Now that's what I like about Bambu Labs, is they just give you a nice little kit of all the little extra accessories and tools. You know, they give you another print head, just a lot of the extra parts that you need in case you need to repair. So definitely like that about the Bambu Lab printers as well. This looks like safety guidelines. Okay. And then the biggest difference is instead of the LCD screen, well, you get another LCD screen, but it's a lot smaller. So definitely a little bit different than the X1 Carbon. So we'll go ahead and connect this. So you remove that tape, and then it connects only one way, so dummy proof, you know, which I appreciate. So you definitely plug it in and push it into the slot. Until it clicks. You've got your power cable for the printer itself. And what is this? Okay, so it's glue gel. So instead of a glue stick, you get this strong adhesive. So definitely a lot better than the glue stick itself, and maybe easier to clean up as well. So I'm definitely going to be trying this out at some point. Probably not on the textured plate because that generally sticks pretty well. Okay, and I'm probably going to have to find a case for all this little equipment or accessories. Okay, so I'm just going to take this bag out from underneath. And I will say that this P1P is a lot lighter than the X1 Carbon. But then that makes sense just because it doesn't have the chassis as well as all the extra components. Now, one thing that I also do like, and also a reason why I'm glad I waited until now to order this, was because now the P1P also does come with the built-in camera as well as the built-in chamber LED, which wasn't originally included when it first launched. So if you're one of those people that bought this early on and you don't have the LED and the camera, definitely make sure you reach out to Bambu Labs to get that because it is now included as well. So that's a nice addition that you know, I'm happy comes with the P1P. Okay, so let's go ahead and remove. Scissors is probably better to remove that. Okay, so scissors and a cutter is probably best to remove these twisty ties here, or these cable ties on the print head itself. All right, so let's just make sure we've got everything. So just looking really quickly through the booklet itself, apparently there's a little USB charging port on the back of this printer, on the back of the LCD screen as well, so that's pretty nice. And I'm not even sure if they had that in the X1 Carbon, but there is a USB port right here in the back, which you can use as a charging port, which is pretty nice. Okay, so next we want to make sure we install the spool holder. So to do that, we want to make sure we use the included Allen key to loosen up the screws on the back. Then we'll take the included spool holder here and secure it to the back. Okay, and then you use the screws from the accessory pack specifically for the spool holder itself. Okay, so that is secure. Okay, and then we need the PTFE anchor, and we screw this to the top portion of the printer. And what I like about this PTFE tube is that it can pivot in case you want to adjust it for better control of the filament. So position it how you like, or what's convenient or best for you. But for now I'm probably just gonna secure it downwards like in the picture. But it is flexible and will move. Okay, and then you attach the other end of the PTFE tube into the top part of this. Just make sure it's secured. Okay, and then as usual, there are 3 screws in the printer itself that secure the bed while it's shipping. And that's just to make sure the bed and the printer doesn't move or get damaged during shipping. So you will have to remove those. And there are, of course, 3 arrows indicating which those 3 screws are that you have to remove. I guess I'll just put it in the bag for the PTFE screws. But yeah, so there are 3 screws you need to remove inside the printer itself that's securing everything down, the bed down. So again, they're represented by arrows. Okay, so we're just going to unscrew these screws. Okay, and that's 1 screw down, and then we'll just do the same for the other 2 screws. Okay, so once all that stuff is done, we're going to go ahead and plug this in and set this up and add it to our Bambu Handy app. Okay, so let's go ahead and power this thing on. Okay, so before you use, please make sure that you have read. Okay, so that's not a touch screen. So used to the X1 carbon. Before you remove the screws, we're in North America. Okay, so we've got the app screen, so now we're going to scan it with our phone. Okay, so we're going to scan it with our phone. Which will take us to the Handy app. And we are going to bind this printer to our account. Pair. Click pair. Okay, so maybe I have to do it manually. So click the plus, scan the QR code. Okay. Confirm to bind. We're going to connect it. Add it to our network. Okay, confirming that we removed the 3 screws. Okay, so we've got both of the printers added now. Okay, so fine, let's run the self-test. Okay, so it's going to run the self-test. So no longer need the app. Okay, so we're going to run the self-test now from the printer itself. And it does say do not remove the protective film from beneath the hotbed until after the initial calibration is complete. So I actually removed it on the X1 carbon, but I don't think it makes a difference. But let's go ahead and start the calibration and the self-test. So already the thing I notice about the Bambu Lab printers from the K1 printers from Creality is that the bed moves a lot faster. Okay, so it's doing its calibration and vibration test. And hopefully that grinding noise is going to go away. Now there is a grinding noise, which I have read that some people have been facing in the forums, but hopefully it's something that's going to go away as the grease distributes among this the rods. And I will say it does sound a little bit quieter than the X1 carbon. Now it's doing the resonance frequency test. All right, and one thing that I did do for the X1 carbon that I'm probably going to do for the P1P is print out these little leg accessories as well. And what these are for is so that I can put these isolated rubber feet on it so that it helps with the vibration and noise as well. It's done so much for my X1 carbon in terms of quieting it down when it's printing, but then also just helps from a vibration standpoint. So definitely something I'm going to install on the P1P as well. So let's do that while it's doing the self-test. And these are the little isolated rubber feet that I bought, for a pack of 4 from Amazon. If you're interested in getting these, I'll leave a link to it in the description section below. But basically what you do is you peel off the little sticky tape. And I probably should have done this before I did the calibration, but no biggie. And this sticker does not want to come off. And then I'll also leave a link to the feet in the description section below as well, so that if you feel like you want to print them out for yourself, it'll be available. Okay, so the self-test is now complete, and I'm just going to finish with these feet. So that's one of the positive things about the K1 is it does come with these little feet to help with the vibration. And on the K1, because these did come with the K1 printer itself, they do stay on without needing to add any kind of adhesive. With these, you're going to have to move them and put them back on as you move the printer for the Bambu Lab printers. Okay, I think we got them on. All right, so now we'll remove the last piece of styrofoam. And as you can see, it is ready to print now. Okay, so right off the bat, and this is good and bad, what I do like about the Bambu Lab 3D printers is that the cloud software and the Handy app are excellent so that you can print remotely and don't need to use a USB key or anything like that, or a USB card. The Creality Cloud software, not so user-friendly. Definitely hard to navigate and hard to figure out. So that is one thing that I like about the Bambu Labs over the K1 as well. So aside from the bed speed, leveling speed, also the cloud software. So that's definitely something that Bambu Labs has over the Creality K1 set of printers. Hopefully that's something that will get fixed over time, but right now I'd say it's very unuser friendly. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to run a print test on the P1P itself using the Benchy model that came with the P1P. And of course, it's going to be specially tuned specifically for the Bambu Labs printers. And then we're going to use the Benchy that I downloaded off Thingiverse to compare the print quality and speed from the P1P to the Creality K1 Speedy. So first we'll do the P1P self-print test, and then we'll do the comparison print using a third-party Benchy. Okay, so first things first, let's go ahead and install the filament. Now, I did not order the AMS for the P1P, but I probably will a little bit later just because I do quite a few multicolored prints. And again, when we do the first print, even the comparisons, we're going to use it with the default settings. So I haven't adjusted the settings at all for either the K1 or the P1P. Okay, so there was a firmware update, so we'll go ahead and update the firmware first. And this table is super wobbly as well, but same condition as the K1 Speedy when we did the test print. So we will do the test print once the update is done. Okay, so now that the firmware is updated, we're going to go ahead and do our first test print. So I'm going to come around so I can see the screen better. We'll do the 3D Benchy. And it's approximately 23-minute print time, so we'll go ahead and print. So in terms of speed, 23 minutes is going to be a little bit slower than the K1 Speedy, which printed at about 17 minutes. So of course the K1 is a little bit faster, coming in at a max of 600 millimeters per second with that print speed. So in terms of print speed, the K1 Speedy from Creality does come in a little bit faster than the Bambu Labs P1P. So the Bambu Labs P1P for the Benchy will take about 23 minutes according to the timer on the screen, whereas the Benchy on the K1 Speedy took about 17 minutes. And that's really just because the K1 Speedy has a max speed of 600 millimeters per second, which is a little bit faster than the P1P. So we'll just let it print and then we'll compare the results of the solo tests to see what the quality looks like between the K1 Speedy and the P1P from Bambu Labs. Okay, so while it's printing, the specs for the P1P, it does have 20,000 millimeters per second of acceleration, which is always nice. There is also the AMS that this P1P is compatible for. It's got a print bed size of 256 by 256 by 256, which is an advantage over the K1 Max. Do not include voiceover yet. Okay, so as you can see, just like the X1 Carbon, the K1 Speedy, the P1P printed the benchy super fast. Okay, so if you look at the quality, we'll just let it cool down a little bit. The adhesion is really good on this build plate. So we'll just let that cool down a little bit. Okay, so basically these are the two benchies. This one was printed with the K1 Max Speedy, and this one was printed with the P1P from Bambu Labs. So differences right off the bat. So as you can see, the quality of the P1P benchy is a little bit better than the K1 Speedy. In addition to that, the benchy from the P1P weighs just a little bit more than the one from the K1 Speedy. And of course, this is both using the default settings of both printers. So I'd say overall, the quality is pretty good between the both of them. However, I'd say the P1P just has a little bit more detail and the quality is just a little bit better using the default settings. I will say that there is a clear layer line or a skip on the P1P where I don't see that on the K1 Speedy. However, the print quality looks just a little bit better on the P1P. So based on the print results of both of the individual printers doing their benchy tests, I do find the P1P just a little bit better, even though the K1 Speedy does have a little bit better precision and speed. And with that in mind, now we're going to do the comparison test and have them both print the same file. And I figured instead of doing a benchy, we're going to go ahead and do a different type of print, a little bit more complex, and have both of the printers do the print tests and the print itself simultaneously, because I want to compare the overall print time for both printers with the default settings. So for this next segment, we're going to put each printer next to each other, and then we're going to print the same file on both printers. And we're not going to do a benchy, but instead we're going to do a different print that we are going to test each printer with, just to see what the quality and speed looks like and how each of them compare. Okay, so as you can see, I have currently pulled up both Creality's slicer tool as well as the Bambu slicer tool. And for the purpose of this comparison print test between the K1 and the P1P, I will be using the Autodesk FDM 3D printer assessment file, which I think is the best test for different aspects of 3D printing. So I'm going to be using this file. So as you can see, after slicing it, on the P1P, it will take about an hour and 56 minutes overall to complete the print, whereas on the K1, it will take about 1 hour and 46 minutes and 18 seconds. Now I'm not sure if that time includes the setup and the preparation, but basically we're going to use this to test the overall quality and speed of both printers and see which one comes out the best. Okay, so now that both printers are done printing their test objects, you could clearly see from the videos themselves that both printers are pretty comparable when it comes to speed. I will say though that sitting next to each other while printing, I did notice that the K1 Speedy was a lot more precise and smooth flowing when it came to the printer head movements, whereas the P1P was a little bit more jittery, kind of like it was a kid on sugar. So I will say that for the K1 Speedy, that's pretty impressive, just how solid the movement was. When it comes to the results of the print, I'd say they're super close. So as you can see, the K1 Speedy and the P1P models that they printed were pretty accurate. And from a quality perspective, it's very hard to tell the difference between both of them. I will say that the P1P came out a little bit more solid and just looks a little bit better, but it's very hard to tell. And again, that's really based on the default settings. With a little tweaking of the settings, they can both be pretty much exactly the same and of high quality. I did notice that for both of them, they weren't set to high quality, so that could also be a difference in the way they print. And I would assume if you put it on high quality, both will come out just perfectly looking. But overall, very comparable in the quality of the print itself as well as the speed. The K1 Speedy did finish a little bit quicker. However, it did lose time during the initial calibration and test period, which allowed the P1P to cut some of that time off. So overall, very comparable when it came to print speed and completing an overall print. But then again, I did use the model that came with the P1P itself, so it could be refined to print better on the P1P. Whereas the K1 Speedy, I just used one that was off the internet. Now when it comes to the more complex model, I will say they turned out both pretty comparatively well. However, the one on the P1P does seem a little bit more solid and clear, especially around the numbers where you'll notice the difference a lot. The numbers on the P1P print are a lot clearer and more precise than the ones on the K1 Speedy. But then again, that could also be that I didn't set the printer on high quality and just use the defaults. The P1P is also set on defaults, but not sure if that made the difference as well. All right, now that we've seen the print results from both of the printers comparatively, let's talk a little bit about specs and how each printer compares to one another. Now from a specs perspective, the Bambu Labs P1P has a build volume of 256 by 256 by 256 millimeters, whereas the K1 Speedy from Creality has a build volume of 220 by 220 by 250 millimeters, so just a tiny bit smaller than the P1P. Now both printers have a max acceleration speed of 20,000 millimeters per second squared. However, the K1 Speedy does have a max printing speed of 600 millimeters per second compared to the max printing speed of 500 millimeters per second for the P1P. Now, it has been said that the K1 Speedy is more precise, and we did see that during the sample video. But I think the quality from the P1P with the default settings is much better. Both printers have pretty nice slicers. However, I'd say that the Creality slicer is a lot better and gives you more control on your prints and your print settings. There also is a larger user base and community just because Creality's been around longer. Now from a pricing perspective, the K1 Speedy is cheaper by $100, coming in at $599, with the P1P costing around $699. And if you consider all that the K1 Speedy comes with, it actually is a lot cheaper considering that it does come with an enclosure as well as a much better and higher quality LCD screen. Now the P1P did up its game a little bit by including the camera, which the K1 does not have, so that's something to consider as well. Now according to specs, the K1 can also handle a larger variety of print materials, including wooden and metal composites, which I don't think that the P1P can handle very well. But definitely let me know in the comments section below if you found out otherwise, since I haven't tested those materials on either printer. Now even though overall the Creality K1 Speedy is cheaper, has more features, and has a faster max printing speed, I still don't think, actually, better yet, I still prefer the P1P Bambu Labs printer. That's not to say that Creality's K1 isn't good. In fact, I'm pretty happy with the purchase and I will definitely be using it a lot more. But at the end of the day, if I had to pick just one, I would definitely pick the Bambu Lab P1P over the Creality K1. Now for those of you that pre-ordered and have the K1 Speedy and the P1P, let me know what you think in the comment section below and which one you prefer. Now even though overall the Creality K1 Speedy is cheaper, has more features, and has a faster max printing speed, I still don't think, or better yet, I pretty much prefer the P1P Bambu Lab over the K1 Speedy. Now that's not to say that Creality's K1 is not good. In fact, I'm pretty happy with the purchase and I'll definitely be using this printer a lot more. But at the end of the day, if I had to pick just one, I would pick the Bambu Lab P1P over the Creality K1. Now for those of you that are watching this video and also pre-ordered the K1 Speedy and also have the P1P, let me know in the comment sections which one you prefer and what you think. Now with that in mind, I do hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. I'm excited for the Creality K1 Max, and you can definitely be sure that I'll pre-order that so I can compare it to the performance of my Bambu Lab X1 Carbon in the future video. In addition to that, I'll also be doing some follow-up videos, printing parts, and customizing this new P1P. And I'll probably start with printing a custom chassis for this printer and some other add-ons and upgrades. In addition to that, I'll also be doing some follow-up videos printing parts and customizing this new P1P, and I'll probably start with printing a custom chassis for the printer and some other add-ons and upgrades. Now, if you're interested in seeing those videos, make sure you subscribe and ring that bell icon to get notified when that content is posted. Please also make sure to like and leave me a comment below if there are any questions or suggestions that you might have. Until next time, see ya.